Good morning, all of you. I mean, you heard us for the last 5 days, so there's very little I can tell you more. I mean, you may have some questions to ask, but at the outset, through you, I'd like to first place on record a deep sense of appreciation to the manner in which the reception committee, organizing committee, Kannur district committee, and Colonel Jayarajan as its secretary, has actually organized this Congress. And effortlessly for 5 days, we discussed very important issues and very long sessions, and everything was taken care of. So my salutes to all the volunteers, the entire committee, and I want to place it on record that the whole party appreciates the manner in which they've conducted this Congress. Now, as far as the party Congress is concerned, if you want to sum it up, it can be only in two words, that this is a Congress of determination and this is a Congress of resolve. Determination in the sense that the CPIM is determined that apart from strengthening itself further, which is absolutely essential in today's conditions to face the onslaught of Hindutva communalism, at the same time to seek the unity of the left forces and to forge a left democratic alternative. The left democratic alternative is not an alternative only with the political parties. It's an alternative along with people's movements, social movements, which are progressive in character and which are able to rally people together in the defense of India's secular democratic constitutional order and to advance the people's struggles for a better livelihood. So with all these forces, the idea on a common alternate program, the idea is to forge this left and democratic front and simultaneously build the broadest possible mobilization of secular forces to face this challenge of Hindutva communalism. So these four simultaneous processes will take place: strengthening of the party, left unity, the left and democratic front, and the broadest possible mobilization. These four will take place simultaneously, and we shall soon embark on that course, and we shall seek the cooperation of all the forces who are willing to come in the defense of our constitutional order and to further the struggles for a better life for the people. In a sum, this is what is the essence of the party Congress. And in order to make sure that this is effectively implemented, it's also a very unique thing in Indian politics. I mean, normally you don't have political parties reducing the size of their highest body, but we have to make it more effective, more done. From 95 to 85 we've brought down. And often I've said that at the end of the last party Congress, where the charge was that you don't have a single Dalit in your Politburo. So I said, you wait, I mean, this is a process that will take place and we'll surely have. And then this time we have a very accomplished comrade of ours, who's been 7 times member of the Lok Sabha, a doctor, and he comes from the lowest of the social orders that you have, which are called the domes in Bengal. Somebody from that background could reach such a stage to become a medical doctor, be a member of parliament, has got a lot to do with the 35 years of the left-front rule in Bengal, which provided these opportunities to these sections. But anyway, we are glad that the composition of our party also reflects the social character of India. And so this is the task. Therefore, we have a very important, onerous task before us. While on the level of people's struggles for improvement, you find that the left, and particularly the CPIM, has been playing a vital role, pivotal role, let's say, in all these struggles that have taken place in the past few years, whether it's the Kisan struggle, whether it's the trade union actions and strikes that have happened every year in the last 4 years, or whether it's the struggle of the Anganwadis or the scheme workers or the students or the youth or the women. you have, I mean, an active participation, and these struggles are intensifying. But in terms of electoral politics, you find all these struggles not being part of the mainstream narrative, where the mainstream narrative continues to be hijacked into the communal, into a polarized communal situation. And that is what needs to be broken. The Prime Minister's preoccupation today is either hijab or halal or azan, or now, yesterday as they mounted the attack in JNU saying there should be no non-vegetarian food. These are the issues that for them that are important. Not growing unemployment, not growing suicides by our youth and our farmers, not growing hunger, not growing poverty. But and on top of that, you impose a daily hike in prices of petroleum products, which creates an inflationary process, making life more miserable. So we need to shift that narrative away from this polarization that they are seeking. And that is a major challenge. And that is what we have undertaken to ensure that that will happen in cooperation with the broadest possible mobilization of secular forces. So in a nutshell, if you have anything to ask, you're welcome.
Already said you will strengthen the party. That is your first objective. For strengthening the party has to be strengthened at the center and at the regional level. So what are the measures you will take to strengthen the party at the center?
You see, for strengthening of the party is not only the question of personnel at the center discharging responsibilities. That's important. But the main strengthening of the party comes from the grassroots level activity. So the focus and the priority that is given this time in the party congress is to develop your local struggles on issues that are affecting the local population. Somewhere it will be water, somewhere it will be electricity, somewhere it will be transport, somewhere it will be roads. But whatever those issues are, on that to mobilize the people and to launch your sustainable movements to realize that objective. This is I would say that this is the axis for the party's growth. It doesn't happen through, these are all important and very demonstrative, central actions, big calls and rallies. But the actual growth of the party will be from the grassroots level, and that is where the concentration will be now.
Already, is there any special plan for the North Indian states?
For the
North Indian state.
North Indian or North Eastern?
Both.
Both. What is the plan?
Yeah. Is there any special?
You see, for the North Indian states, particularly Hindi-speaking states, we have worked out a plan, but we had also said that soon, very soon, we'll have a meeting with the secretaries of all these Hindi-speaking states in order to discuss how to implement what we have outlined in our political organizational report. And that is basically to take on, you see, the Hindutva communal agenda has to be met straight on. We got to take the bull by the horns. Only thinking that on people's issues organizing protest is going to mute that monster, that is not going to happen. Hindutva, that entire communal agenda has to be frontally taken on, and that has to be done politically, ideologically, socially, culturally, very important, and organizationally. Because they use all the social mechanisms available, from organizing community kirtans to bhajans to various things through which they propagate this polarization. Now these have to be countered at each level, and that is a challenge that has to be taken up, particularly in the northern states, in the Hindi-speaking states, and in the northeast now, using Assam as the axis. They are now communalizing rapidly and most dangerously the entire northeastern region, and that will have very serious consequences for the future. But that is the challenge that we'll have to take on.
See, during the last 8 years of Modi, minorities, farmers, and Dalits were the most affected people. So, do you have any action plan to organize intensive protest among these people
Yes.
in the future?
In fact, I mean, the farmers' action, I mean, though finally the launch of the farmers' protest against the farm laws happened under the large umbrella organization of the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha. For 2 years before that, there was a consistent and a very systematic effort to bring together all these farm unions. And the whole thing started, if you recollect, from the long march that was of Maharashtra, from Nasik to Bombay, that took place. You know, that was in fact the launch pad by which all these organizations came together. Prior to this farmers' agitation, private member bills were moved both in the both houses of parliament by this committee, the All India Kisan Sangharsh Samiti, and K.K. Ragesh, then our CPM MP in Rajya Sabha. He and Raju Shetty, who belongs to that Agadi in Maharashtra, I mean independent organization, they moved a private member bill seeking what? Waiver of farm loans. If you're waiving your corporate loans, why don't you waive the farm loans? And the other one is on the MSP. So it was a manner in which this build-up took place. That is how, on the issue of Dalits, on the issue of the other marginalized and the suppressed and the oppressed now, that we'll do, and we will cooperate with all the Dalit, progressive Dalit organizations, with whom we already are in touch, who are independently taking up these issues against manual scavenging, for instance. I mean, you have when people and organizations who are actively working on it, will cooperate with all of them to ensure that we build up a people's movement on all these important issues.
Caste data is something that the government at the center doesn't believe in making public.
Which one?
Caste data.
Caste data.
Yeah. And the Maharashtra government went to court, and you know the history. The court itself said there is no data available in public. So reservation for OBCs is off. So now this is an issue around which parties like RJD or SP are rallying. So are we likely to see the left also becoming a part of this and asking the government to, when they conduct this exercise of census, to also gather data pertaining to caste?
Yeah. Yes, first of all, let me tell you, since you asked about data, this government doesn't have any data. This is a data-free government. And whatever data they give is the data that is suited to their agenda. I mean, that is why I said it on the floor of the House, so they can't charge me with unparliamentary language. I reminded the Modi government, I continue to remind the Modi government, that there is an old English saying which says, quote, lies, damned lies, and statistics. So this government's data is that. This is statistics. That is the general point on data that you said. As far as the caste census is concerned, we are in favor of a caste census, and we have stated it publicly. And we have in fact specifically said, when the 2021 census, that is delayed now because of COVID, when the 2021 census enumeration takes place, along with that a caste enumeration must take place. Now this is necessary, I mean, because the charge normally comes is that you are dividing in terms of caste, you'll create a casteist fragmentation. That is not the issue. The issue is that you have to, you have to actually understand what is the Indian reality. Otherwise, on what basis are various states in the center giving reservations? On what basis is the OBC reservations of 27% being granted? What is the enumeration that is going on? What is the reality? What is the status? I think that knowledge is important for not only for policy direction, but is also important for actually addressing the issues of the marginalized and the oppressed, and to ensure that the benefits of reservation or any other schemes meant for them actually reach the needy among them. And that is absolutely essential.
Comrade, after the Kolkata plenum, you said party is going to the masses, like how fish swim in the water, and how it's implemented in this duration. Especially the plenum and the party.
Well, the fish was in the water, and that is why you have all these all these struggles that were going on. But the fish in the water, I mean, has to also now to start fishing in the muddy waters of communal polarization, not only people's mobilization, people's struggles. We'll have to take on that challenge as well. Remember, the lotus is always blooms on the basis of the filth that is there in the pond. The more the lotus blooms, greater the filth. We have to tackle the filth. And that is where we have to start swimming now.
Do you think that the party has to take a responsibility to organize protest against saffronizing academics?
Of course. Of course, that has been an absolute priority. In fact, even in our political resolution, you'll see the whole section on the assault on rationality. I mean, what is happening today? I mean, this is true of any fascistic movement. The first casualty is to attack the people's consciousness through irrationality. Irrationality promotes faith. Faith is the basis on which such ideologies thrive. So blind faith, rationality seeks answers on a rational basis. Irrationality tells you that you cannot get an answer. Faith is the only answer. Now that is the whole philosophical approach of all fascistic forces. So you will find, instead of rationality, what our Constitution says, promoting scientific temper. Instead of, that is a duty of every citizen. In fact, remember, it comes in Section 4 of the Constitution, which today the Modi government is talking about. Not only the rights, people should not only talk about their rights but also their duties. Remembering that section on fundamental duties of the citizens was an amendment moved by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. When we all came in after post-emergency, when we supported the Janata Party government, we annulled all the constitutional amendments that allowed the emergency to be proclaimed, except this section on the duties of the citizen. And it is in that you find references to India's composite culture. That you find references to scientific temper. What they are doing, and it is necessary for them for communal polarization to intensify, attack irrationality, attack reason. So you have this irrationality and unreason as the entire foundations of this Hindutva communal offensive. So we are very conscious of this. The new education policy is the theoretical framework in which this is sought to be implemented. And that is something that we will frontally oppose, and we are opposing, and that will intensify.
Yes.
Now trying to penetrate into the caste here of
I'm sorry?
Caste.
now trying to penetrate into the caste.
Huh?
Caste.
Caste.
Caste
Yeah.
is penetrating into?
The caste area of society. But you have got a failed experiment of Telangana in front of you. You have got this Bahujan left front experiment that was failed in 2018. So what are your plans to tackle it? How are you doing?
You see, caste and class in India are not two separate compartments and identities. The bulk of the oppressed classes in India come from the oppressed castes. More than 4/5 of the agricultural labor in our country comes from the SC/ST background. So the most oppressed classes in India are also the most socially oppressed castes. So it's a caste-class overlap. So it is the normal misconception of everybody saying that caste is separate and class is separate. No, this is and it's a dynamic life society of the same people. I mean, that interface is always there. So the question is not whether caste versus class, but how do you integrate caste and class? There I have been saying, particularly since the last two party congresses, and I continue to maintain, which the party maintains, that class struggle in India stands on 2 feet. One is economic exploitation, the other one is social oppression. Now, unless both these feet start moving together, you can't move forward. And that is the entire, in a nutshell, what the party believes in. Now, how do you do this integration? Telangana BLF was an effort. It was an effort. It was an effort to do that. But the point is that whether the class politics gets subsumed under caste identity politics, in which case it doesn't serve the purpose of integration of class and caste, or the issues of championing social oppression should go simultaneously, side by side, with the championing of issues on economic exploitation. That balance integration has to be done. So what happened in Telangana is not a failure. That it was an effort, but that was a balance that was not properly ensured. So therefore, that had to be corrected. That's what the PB and the CC did. So that is the issue. Therefore, the point is to integrate the struggles against economic exploitation with the struggles against social oppression. Time.
Yechury garu, Yechury garu, a question regarding Telangana. ఈరోజు కేసీఆర్ ఢిల్లీలో ధర్నా చేస్తున్నారు.
ఏం చేస్తున్నారు?
కేసీఆర్ ఢిల్లీలో ధర్నా చేస్తున్నారు. ధాన్యం కొనుగోలుకు సంబంధించి ప్యాడీ ప్రొక్యూర్మెంట్ గురించి. అయితే జనరల్ స్ట్రైక్ కు ఎలాంటి మద్దతు ఇవ్వని కేసీఆర్ తర్వాత బీజేపీకి అగెనిస్ట్ గా ప్రతిసారి పాల్గొంటా ధర్నాలు చేస్తా అని చెప్తారు. బట్ జనరల్ స్ట్రైక్ మాత్రం మద్దతు ఇవ్వట్లేదు. మీరు చాలాసార్లు కేసీఆర్ కలిసారు హైదరాబాద్ లో. మీరు నిన్న కూడా లౌకిక పార్టీని కలిసి రావాలి ఆలోచించుకోవాలని చెప్పారు. దీన్ని ఎలా చూడొచ్చు అంటారు? తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి పార్టీ.
తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాలకు సంబంధించి ఆన్సర్ ఇన్ తెలుగు or you also are interested?
It is better to in English.
In English. He was asking about KCR's, the Telangana Chief Minister's role, saying that he is in Delhi now on a dharna demanding the paddy procurement. But on the question of the strike that was called by all the trade unions, but that he did not support. But he takes these positions, and tries to portray himself as being anti-BJP. Now that is a problem with many of these regional parties, as I told you. So we met when the Chief Minister, he was gracious enough to host us a lunch. We were very grateful. I went and, since I grew up in Hyderabad, so Hyderabadi food I'm fond of. So that's a separate matter. But right there we said that now the time has come where we all have to consistently and on a principled basis converge our opposition to the BJP. Our appeal is there to all the regional parties. In fact, we said sooner or later the regional parties will realize that this assault on federalism that is coming by this central government is going to completely affect them and negate their own existence. That conflict will sharpen. And it is the process of sharpening of that conflict that we see the Telangana Chief Minister also, his actions. And soon you'll see the other state governments and the Chief Ministers also reacting to it, because that is actually destroying the very character of India. People forget, when we all talk of Indian Constitution, what does Article 1 say? Article 1 of the Indian Constitution, it opens with this article after the preamble. India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. Full stop. Without states, there is no union. Today, Modi government wants only the union and no states. So that is a major contradiction that that the state governments of regional parties cannot afford to ignore.
Yes, can we
Can we?
conclude? Last
Let it go.
question, Naufal.
Ah.
Yes.
Yesterday's speech, Kerala CM Pinarayi Vijayan said this party Congress brain sick signaled Kerala's developmental projects like Kairali. What is your take on that?
I think we have said it so often. Kairali is a joint project between the central government and the state government. Chief Minister met the Prime Minister, the discussions are on, the consultation is going on. A survey is on to find out the various aspects of that project. So why are you jumping the gun about what is this, what is not that? I mean, this is a project. Kerala government is interested, not only interested, it is necessary for Kerala development. Now, what terms that development will take place, these are matters that will have to be based on facts. Those facts are in the process of being ascertained. Now, we are determined that there should be development. And that is necessary for Kerala. Not now, from the time of EMS Namboodiripad. We are continuously saying that how long can Kerala continue to be dependent on outside for various things? You will have to develop here. So that development, how that development will take place, what is the process? Earlier, communist-led governments did a lot of these developments through land reforms, education, etc., which is why Kerala's human rights indices are one of the highest in the world today. Not only in India, but it's highest in the world, comparable to many advanced European countries. We did this development, but then materially, how the development has to be taken forward further. That is what the current government is doing.
Okay.
Huh? Against the?
Bullet train.
So am I. So am I. What are the terms of land acquisition? Do you know the terms for the Kairali? I don't know. They're being ascertained. So if you don't know, why do you want to compare and talk? The opposition there was on the terms of land acquisition. Understand? Huh?
Only objection against land acquisition.
No, I'm saying various factors are there. There's environment, there's land, there's various things. That is where the survey is going on. So don't mechanically compare without knowing the details.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you, all of you, for
Thank you
the
very much.
cooperation.
And thank you for your cooperation, like
Yes,
you said,
yes.
all these 5 days. So I don't know if I hope you have not been harassed and we have been looked after. And I'm sure they have, because they looked after us very well. So thank you very much once again.